All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of On the Yard Network. Of course, as we recap some SEC baseball, I am Perry White. Glad to have you guys with us. My man, Zach McKinnell from FCS Football Central is going to join me here in just a minute. We're going to go back and look at this past week of SEC baseball tournament. We have reached the end of all conference tournaments, and now it's time to talk about regional hosting sites. Who won the tournament? Who played well? Who was some surprises? And very much so, who were some disappointments. So hope you guys are having a great Memorial Day and had a great Memorial Day weekend. I know a lot of people are going to be out moving around and traveling and so forth and doing some other things, but just glad to have you guys tune in as we continue to grow. And as always, as I do some housekeeping rules, be sure to follow On the Yard Network across all social media networks. Of course, you can follow us on Facebook. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do, and follow us on X as well as Instagram. As well, if you want to keep up with me, I host the Jaguar Journal on 107.3 FM in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Jaguar Journal, of course, covers black college sports, HBCUs, the SWAC, the MEAC, FCS, so forth, and whatever else. So you make sure you can be able to go find the Jaguar Journal across all social media networks and as well as subscribe to the Jaguar Journal YouTube channel as well. And then be able to follow the journal on X, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever else you can find us, right? So, get my man Zach. Good morning, Zach.
What's up, man?
Man,
How you been, man?
I'm good, man. How's everything going in your world?
Man, going good.
Happy Memorial Day weekend, man. What's your plans this weekend with the fam, man?
Man, I have no idea. I'll figure it out after we get done with this show.
You say what now?
I said I have no idea, man. We'll figure it out when we get done with this show.
Man, we had a great week of SEC baseball tournament. Not only just SEC, just looking around the nation at different conference tournaments. But as we led into this tournament before we jump into the game, so we started on Tuesday. Uh, who did you say was your overall pick to win this thing?
Yeah, it did end up working out. I believe I had Texas and LSU as the as like my first two picks,
Mm-hmm.
so didn't work out well. But I think we both kind of identified Vandy as kind of like the sleeper team of it all, just because of how well they were playing, man. And they got on a roll there. And I mean, dude, Vandy is just gonna Vandy at this point. Like nothing they do really surprises me. And they did a heck of a job, man. This weekend.
The idea of Vandy's gonna Vandy is that is a funny notion, but nonetheless, you talked about him before we get into these games. Vandy came into this tournament in the regular season as one of the hotter teams, not only in the SEC but in the nation.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, they've been hot just in general, like in this tournament too. What, it's their second title in the past 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. And like you said, they were playing their best baseball coming in. And I would say this, like out of all the teams that were getting hot, like you look at like Auburn was hot, what was it, Mississippi State was hot. Vandy was kind of quietly had the longest hot streak out of all those teams, and probably were what was the most talented team on paper. So, not super surprising, man, but a super impressive win for Vandy. And it's funny, man, Perry, if you remember all the way back before we got into conference play, we were kind of a little bit worried about Vandy. Vandy didn't really dominate their non-conference schedule like we were expecting, but man, they dominated this weekend. I mean, that win, they beat Tennessee 10-0 in 7 innings in the quarterfinals or whatever. I mean, or semifinals. That's insane, man. To run rule a team as talented as Tennessee in the semifinals is absolutely impressive. And this Vandy team's rolling at the right time. And Perry, it's looking like there could be another potential trip to Omaha here for the Commodores.
Let's jump right into the SEC baseball tournament. Of course, we got things kicked off on Tuesday, right? May the 20th. And the first game of the day was number 16 seed Missouri taking on number 9 seed Alabama. This game was 2-1 in the bottom of the fourth. Alabama ended up closing this thing out with a run in the bottom of the seventh and the eighth to close it out to win it. 4-1 was the final score. And this one is the Crimson Tide take down Missouri. The Crimson Tide able to get it done off of 8 hits. One error on the other side for Missouri, 9 hits, 0 errors. For you looking at game one in Alabama and Missouri.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you, Perry. I mean, this. this was arguably the easiest game to pick of all the games throughout this tournament. Man, Missouri has just been so bad, and so no surprise here. I was not surprised to see Bama come out on the right side.
Going into game two, we had number 13 Kentucky, number 13 seed Kentucky taking on number 12 seed Oklahoma. Now, looking at these seedings, both these teams, when you're talking about the matchup, seem like it's just set up great for a wonderful game. Oklahoma goes up 3-1 in the bottom of the third. They put up 3 runs. Oklahoma wins this game, blew 5-1. The Sooners got it done off of 7 hits, 1 error on the other side for the Wildcats. 6 hits, 0 errors. 5-1 final score. Number 12 Oklahoma seed takes down number 13 seed Kentucky.
Yeah, you got to get your base runners, man, across home plate, and that was something Oklahoma did a lot better than Kentucky. Kentucky's bats weren't bad, pair. They just were not able to capitalize on base runners, and so man, a big win for Oklahoma. Really solid outing from James Hitt as well, starting pitcher, man. 0 earned runs in 4 innings, undefeated this year as a starter pitcher. So big time win for the Sooners.
Moved on, number 15 seed South Carolina takes on number 10 seed Florida. We both was looking at Florida as one of the hotter teams in the nation coming to this tournament. And Florida handles business in this one. It was all Gators. 11-3 was the final score as the Gators won this one off the 13 hits, 0 errors on the other side for the Gamecocks, 11 hits, 2 errors. Florida all over South Carolina and Palm
Yeah, bats got hot for Florida. Also, too, for South Carolina, man, 11 hits, only 3 runs. They had 2 costly errors. It's just been one of those years, man, for Palmineri and the Gamecocks. And it was a lot of growing pains, to say the least. But, man, a big win for Florida. They were explosive offensively. And South Carolina, again, man, just can't capitalize on any momentum from the plate, man. Offensively, they've just been so inconsistent this year. Even when the bats get hot, Perry, you don't even know if – I mean, really can't really trust them to turn those hot bats into points, which is disappointing.
Going over to Wednesday, here's a game that had to be played. Number 14 Texas A&M 14 seed taking on number 11 seed Mississippi State. As much as we talked about Florida coming to this one, we talked about Mississippi State as one of the hotter teams. Mississippi State gets put out by Texas A&M in this one 9-0. Texas A&M put 6 runs up in the second to add another 2 in the third. 9-0 the final score as the Aggies got it done off of 10 hits, 0 errors. On the other side for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, 6 hits, 2 errors. How about the Aggies getting it done?
Yeah, yeah, this was a little bit interesting, not because Texas A&M wasn't good enough to do this. It was just how hot the Mississippi State was coming into the postseason, Perry, and that they really had nothing for the Aggies. The Aggies were dominant in terms of offensively, man. 6 runs in the second, man. It was so impressive. And also, too, let's give a shout out to Ryan Prager, starting pitcher here. 5.1 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, controlling the mound. Big time performance from the Aggies.
We move over number 9 Alabama, who got that game 1 victory over Missouri, then takes on number 8 seed Tennessee, who's sitting there waiting in the wings. High scoring game here. We would have thought this was the third weekend in October. As we know, these two are big rivals in football. And how about Tennessee getting the victory in this one? 15-10 as these two teams exchanged a lot of runs throughout the game. Tennessee, 20 hits in this ball game, 1 error on the other side for the Crimson Tide, 10 hits and 2 errors, 15-10 final score. How about the Crimson Tide coming up short and even big for the Vols to come in day one for their game and handle business?
Yeah, what an offensive performance, right? I mean, good Lord. I'll say this. I think this was the Tennessee team that I don't know, but maybe this is what we kind of more expected from Tennessee. This looked like out of conference Tennessee more so than conference play. A massive win, and Bama just had nothing, just couldn't figure out anything how to stop Tennessee offensively, and also the 2 costly errors for the Crimson Tide as well. But Tennessee handled business, man. This was a big one for them.
Oklahoma, who survived and advanced out of day one of the tournament as the number 12 seed, then took on number 5 seed Georgia in their first game of the SEC tournament this year. And Georgia came out cold in this one as the Sooners were able to get it done. 3-2 was the final score as the Sooners were able to seal the deal off of 8 hits, 0 errors on the other side for the Georgia Bulldogs, 5 hits, 2 errors. How about 3-2 final score? Sooners survive and advance for day 2.
Man, this Georgia team's so tough to figure out now. Obviously, in a one-run game, the 2 errors were costly for Georgia, but Perry, we talked all season about how hot Georgia was batting. It was just their pitching, like for the most part, couldn't really close down the stretch in some points, especially against the elite teams. But we both kind of looked at this bracket as Georgia having one of the easier paths to potentially make a run here, and for them to get knocked off by Oklahoma was a bit shocking. Shout out to Kyson Witherspoon, man, for Oklahoma. He pitched seven plus innings, only 2 earned runs, 8 Ks, 10-3 on the year now as the starting pitcher, man. When you have a pitcher that is that good and can do it against a batting lineup that was as hot as any in the SEC in Georgia, Perry, I mean, this was a big win for the Sooners, and I think that them making a little bit of run really, really helped them when it came to postseason play and seeding.
Big win for the Sooners as they moved on 2 days in a row. Then we get to number 10, Florida, who won their game one on Tuesday. They take on number 7 seed Ole Miss. The big game right here. Ole Miss holds off the Florida Gators. 3-1 the final score as the Rebels able to get it done off of 7 hits and 3 errors on the other side for the Gators. 4 hits, 2 errors. How about Ole Miss cooling off the Florida Gators and saying, hold on, know what you had going on, but not today.
Yeah, this was a big one. Ole Miss be able to put up 3 runs there in the fourth and really put some pressure on this Florida lineup. It's funny, man. These teams combined for 5 errors in this game, man. A little bit of a sloppier game. I mean, Hunter Elliott was outstanding on the mound. 5 innings pitched, Perry, 8 strikeouts, 0 earned runs. Dominated pitching and really shut down a Florida hitting lineup that was hot coming off that first round game where they put up 11 runs. So it was a really impressive performance from the Rebels here.
We move on to Thursday. How about the Aggies still alive as we get a little deeper? They take on number 6 seed Auburn. And in this one, the Aggies keep it going as they get the victory 3-2 over number 6 seed Auburn. Surprised us once again. The Aggies get it done off of 4 hits, 0 errors. On the other side, the Auburn Tigers, War Eagles, 6 hits, 0 errors. Surprised the Aggies still alive with Thursday going into Friday?
Yeah, this one was surprising, man. I'll say this, watching part of this game, man, Auburn couldn't get the bats going consistently. Like they'd have a solo shot here, or a guy get second, third base here, but they just could not turn these base runners into points. And we talked about that in a few of the earlier games. Auburn's offense, again, Perry, we've talked about it, too inconsistent. Pitching was a little rough early, and it cost the Auburn Tigers here.
Huge matchup right here. I had to see all on social media. Who's the real UT? Who was founded first? Who was this? Who was that when it came to number 8 seed Tennessee taking on number 1 seed Texas, who won the regular season of the SEC? Hell of a matchup right here. And guess what? Surprising ending in this one as Tennessee holds on to win in extra innings all the way in the 12th. 7-5 the final scores. The Volunteers upset the regular season champs in their first year in the SEC tournament, the Texas Longhorns. 7-5 final score. The Longhorns in this one, 10 hits, 1 error. Tennessee gets it done off of 9 hits, 2 errors. How about Tennessee, the real UT at the end of this one, saying, hold on, not so fast, Texas. We won this thing last year, all right?
You got to be disappointed if you're Texas, right?
Yeah.
Dominate the almost the entire season. And also, too, I will say this, the one thing that isn't super surprising is the fact that they were a little bit shaky down the stretch. Um, just throughout conference play. So they just weren't able to respond, man. And this was a big win for Tennessee. Went to what, 12 innings, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Went all the way into extras. And Tennessee was able to find a way to get it done. Gavin, I believe it's Keelan, and 3 RBIs, had a big home run. So I'll say this, man, the Vols showing why preseason and coming into conference play undefeated, why they were so hyped here. And this just shows, I think Tennessee has that gear, Perry, that not a lot of other teams have, where if they click and they're rolling, could be anybody, man. They're the legit national title contender. Regardless of them not winning this tournament, if they get hot at the right time, that they're dangerous.
As we close things out on Thursday, number 12 seed Oklahoma Sooners, who are surviving and found themselves up against the number 4 seed Vanderbilt Commodores. It was all Commodores, and this was 6-1 as the final scores. The Commodores were able to put up 4 runs in the bottom of the 3rd inning. The Commodores got it done off of 8 hits, 0 errors on the other side for the Sooners. 2 hits, 3 errors. Vanderbilt advances. Oklahoma gets eliminated. How about Vanderbilt as the number 4 seed knocking down the Sooners?
No surprise. I mean, I think both of us would have picked Vandy to win this game. I think we both expected Georgia to be here, but
Yep.
also too, Oklahoma's pitching was inconsistent at best. You also had three errors against the Vandy team that's going to take advantage of those. You allow 4 runs in the third inning, and it just puts so much pressure on Oklahoma's bats that they just weren't able to respond, man. And listen, J.D. Thompson was special on the mound this weekend, man. 5 innings, 1 earned run, 11 strikeouts, Perry. He had Oklahoma in the chokehold in this one, man. And I think this kind of was the game that we kind of looked ahead and was like, okay, Vandy is playing some really good baseball with Texas eliminated, with some of the other teams maybe looking a little bit shaky, man. Vandy kind of emerged as the favorite after this one.
Here you look at Texas, Auburn, Georgia, all seeing the door in their game ones and getting eliminated in year one of the elimination, one game and you're done rule. Then we move on to Friday. Number 7 Ole Miss, 7 seed Ole Miss takes on number 2 seed Arkansas, who had been waiting around, and it was finally their time to say, all right, we're finished with the second best conference record. Let's see what we can do. And it was Ole Miss in this one who jumped up early in the first inning with 5 runs and never let go in this game, as Arkansas could not get the bats going at all. The Razorbacks in this one fall short. 5-2 is the final score as the Rebels get it done. The Rebels got it done off of 10 hits, 0 errors on the other side for the Razorbacks. 5 hits and 1 error. How about the Ole Miss Rebels upsetting Arkansas on Friday?
Arkansas just had no response, man. I mean, you look at that first inning, man, 5 runs there for Ole Miss, really, really doomed, I would say. The Razorbacks, and Perry, me and you kind of texted about it briefly. I mean, listen, Arkansas fans just they understand the pain,
Hey,
and
hey, I'm in
it's
pain.
it's just another one, Pair. Another example of them having such a good team and not being able to capitalize, not being able to get a championship out of it. And you wonder, like, where is this team at going into postseason play? Are they going to be able to put a string of games together good enough to potentially win a championship? I don't know, Perry. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what this team looks like in postseason play.
We move on to a game of two teams who we saw earlier in the year, in which Texas A&M was able to get a crazy series victory over LSU over in College Station. And then these two teams meet right here on Friday. Number 14 seed Texas A&M surviving, now having to take on number 3 seed LSU. Final score 4-3 in this game as LSU was able to put up 2 runs in the bottom of the first and the third early on in this game, but then they just went cold for the rest of the game. Texas A&M clawed back, knocked on the door, just did not have enough to get it done. LSU hangs on 4-3. The Tigers get it done off of 5 hits, 0 errors on the other side as the Aggies are eliminated. They got it done off of 6 hits, 0 errors. LSU survived and advanced.
Hey, LSU found a way to get it done. An amazing outing from Cade Anderson, man. 8-1 this year, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. But 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 12 strikeouts. Ethan Frey had a heck of a game. 3 RBIs, a big home run. LSU found a way to survive, man. And I'll say this: A&M showed that they're good. A&M showed enough here, Perry, with the win over Auburn, the scare against LSU. They're going to ruin somebody's postseason. I don't know who it's going to be, but Perry, someone's going to look around and be like, "Man, the committee screwed us by putting us in by putting A&M in our
Yep.
regional." That's what's going to happen, and they showed enough. But man, LSU shows that good teams find a way to get it done, and LSU found a way to get it done.
Then Saturday, here's a hell of a matchup for you. Number 8 seed Tennessee taking on number 4 seed Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt all over this one. It was Vanderbilt's game from the first inning all the way into this thing was called in the 7th inning as the run rule became in effect. 10-0 the final score over the defending conference tournament champions from last year and national championship champions, the Tennessee Volunteers. How about Vanderbilt getting it done off of 13 hits, 0 errors on the other side for the Vols, 4 hits, 2 errors, 10-0 the final in 7 for Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I mean, what a win here for Vandy. It just shows how good this team really is, man. They're a bona fide national title contender. What, they put up 7 runs in the first 3 innings, and Tennessee just had, I mean, no answers offensively. Only 4 hits. They had 2 costly errors. How about Cody Bowker, man? 4 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 9 Ks in 4 innings, Perry. Unbelievable Tennessee's pitching had no answers for Vandy's lineup, and Vandy advances to the championship in dominant fashion.
Then we move on. Number 7 seed Ole Miss, who is surviving, takes on number 3 seed LSU. And at this point, LSU fans saying, hey, just a little spark. That's all we need. And we can find ourselves with that LSU magic that we see year in and year out. But it did not come, as they couldn't get any runs on the board after going cold in that last game against Texas A&M. This was all Ole Miss in this ball game. 2-0 is the final score. Ole Miss able to put up a run in the top of the first and the top of the fourth. The Rebels get it done off of 3 hits, 0 errors on the other side for LSU. 2 hits, 1 errors. Not a lot going on in this game right here, but Ole Miss found a way just to get enough to get past the Tigers and that what we call that Louisiana magic.
Oh man, I mean, listen, Ole Miss was the surprise because Perry, we talked about this, and maybe it's counterintuitive because I say surprise on all season. We really couldn't put our finger on this Ole Miss
Mm-hmm.
team. One week they looked like they could compete with a team like LSU. The next week they would go lose to midweek to some random, mid major, and they come back in the weekend series and get swept by a middle of the pack SEC team. They finally found their rhythm, and this was a huge win. And I just think LSU's bats got cold at the wrong time, and they just couldn't get anything going offensively. And Ole Miss was able to capitalize. And in the SEC pair, we talked about this in the single elimination setup. The SEC is so good that anybody within like the top 12 teams could be anybody on any given, on any given game.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that in this we had the number 4 seed and the number 7 seed in the championship, man. And the number 7 seed was probably one of the most unlikely teams in that top 10 that we predicted to make a run here, man. I don't think either one of us had Ole
Nah.
Miss making a run to the semifinals, and that just shows how deep this league really is.
And as you talk about, we get to the championship game on Sunday. Number 7 seed Ole Miss found themselves after defeating Arkansas and LSU, the gauntlet, right, in that bracket area that they were in, to then take on number 4 seed Vanderbilt, who had been handling business and handling it well. And Vanderbilt gets it done in a crazy win. 3-2 the final score. Ole Miss tried to put up a run in the top of the ninth. It wasn't enough as Vanderbilt holds on. 3-2 the final score. Vanderbilt Commodores get it done off of 7 hits, 0 errors on the other side for the Ole Miss Rebels. 4 hits, 1 errors. Vanderbilt closes it out as the number 4 seed and find themselves hosting up the trophy, stopping by Buc-ee's on the way out of town, out of Hoover, Alabama, to take a pictures with Bucky the Beaver with the SEC tournament trophy, and they are your 2025 SEC conference tournament champions.
Have to love it, man. How about I'll say this. We talked about the pitching rotation, how important it was going to be. Vandy had, if I'm not mistaken, 5 different pitchers take them out in this one, and all of them were great. Man, Austin Nye had an outstanding showing, 4 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts. Luke Guff had a win after 1.2 innings pitched, but it had 3 strikeouts in that time as well. 4-0 on the year. Sawyer Hanks came in late and closed it out for him, and just hitting as well, man. How about Brody Johnston, man? 2 hits, 2 RBIs. Had an outstanding showing, 2 runs in the first inning, man, and that was enough to hold off Ole Miss as they made a late comeback. But what a performance by Vandy, man, throughout this tournament, and Ole Miss just coming up 1 run short. Um, and Perry, it's a game of inches, and Ole Miss had a chance to potentially really set themselves up interestingly for the postseason here, but Vandy finds a way to get it done, and that's what championship programs do. There's not another sport where I'd be sitting here saying this is what Vandy does, and Vandy knows how to go out here and close out championships. But Perry in baseball, they know what it takes to get it done on the diamond.
Looking at the SEC tournament as a whole, as we come and we are done now, as we started once SEC conference play started. We ended the regular season. We've done the SEC tournament. Taking a look back for you, Blue, looking at the SEC this year as we wrapped up regular season and conference tournament.
Oh man, I'll say this again. It's the easiest thing to kind of take away, Perry, but it's just the how unpredictable this conference is because of how competitive it is. There's conferences, Perry, that are unpredictable because everybody's bad, and that's across sports, right? We're like, man, we don't know what's going to happen in this division because all these teams are kind of iffy, got question marks. there's a handful of teams here, Perry, that really truly could go win a national championship and make a run to Omaha. And I just think it was exciting to see how one week, man, we'd be so high on a team, right? And then they come in the next weekend and get swept. And it's like, okay, well now we got to readjust our expectations for that team. But realistically, it was just because they ran into a buzzsaw or another team got hot at the right time. But I mean, I think there's a reason, man, where the reason that the SEC got 8 of the 16 regional site hosts, and it's just because of how talented this conference is, man.
And, for me, Blue, when we started SEC conference play, Tennessee seemed like they were unbeatable. That was the team to watch. We looked at Texas A&M and we looked at Florida, and it was like, what's going on with these teams after they got out their first two conference series just looking horrible. Then we looked at Arkansas and was like, okay. Then we had to pay attention to Texas, looking at Texas in their first year in this conference and say, okay, what can Texas do? I think for Texas, it was the luck of the draw in year one in the SEC. The home field advantage mattered for them. Other teams who started to catch my attention early on, you look at the Alabama Crimson Tide. They were right there when they had that early season conference season series against Tennessee. They snuck out game one and fell short in game 2 and 3. Then you look at the Georgia Bulldogs, who ultimately at one point was the top 3 team in the nation, who shocked me. So you start to look around, and then I don't think anybody saw Missouri falling into the place that they did, only winning 3 conference games this year. I mean, they were almost on the brink of not winning a conference game at all, except when they went on the road and got that series victory and a sweep over Texas A&M. Texas A&M, who was the preseason #1, did not look like the #1 team at some points of this season at all. It was just like, wow, who is this? So we had question marks here, there. Then LSU had kind of teetered off, and then on the back end of the season, all of a sudden, here's LSU, arising from the ashes, this #1 team across the nation in most polls. So, and then Auburn doing great in their midweek games, battling out, representing the conference, and then all of a sudden, here's Vanderbilt coming late into the season. Then here's Florida and Mississippi State picking it up later in the season as we get to the end. Texas begins to teeter off. Tennessee begins to teeter off. And now, it's just the transparency and just the difference the world of a conference season in the SEC can make compared to how we started, where we were in the middle, how we ended, and where we are today, Blue.
Man, you're not lying. I'll say this. I mean, I'm so interested to see how that translates into postseason play, right? Like, because we saw this, right, Perry? We'd be so down on the team for losing a weekend series or something, and then we go in the midweek and just kill like a ranked team that they played in the midweek. And I just want to see, does the competitiveness of this conference translate to postseason play, or did these teams really wear down because every week was such a grind? That's what I'm interested to see. And then also too, you mentioned home field advantage for a team like Texas or someone like that. What happens when we take this to a neutral site?
Yep.
Who's able to respond? Because you have to build your own energy sometime, right, on the road and on these neutral sites.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very, very, very curious to see how that works out.
And let's see, now that it was unveiled yesterday, the regional host sites. And let's look in Baton Rouge right here where I'm at, LSU. Congratulations to the Tigers. They will be hosting a regional site. Up in Fayetteville, Arkansas. How about the Arkansas Razorbacks? Congratulations to the Razorbacks. They'll be hosting a regional site this year. Over in Athens, Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs, congratulations, hosting a regional site this year. You talked about Austin, talking about Texas. Austin, Texas will host a regional site this year. Austin is a tough place. If you got to see the Longhorns over there, congratulations to the Longhorns in year one in the SEC being able to do that. Then let's jump over to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The North Carolina Tar Heels, congratulations to them. They'll be hosting a regional site. How about all the way over the second largest city in the United States, Los Angeles, California, will be hosting a regional site as UCLA, the Bruins, have found themselves in a position to do so. Knoxville, Tennessee, the Tennessee Volunteers, although they struggled up and down, find themselves hosting a regional site. Congratulations to the Volunteers. the SEC Conference Tournament champions, the Vanderbilt Commodores, Nashville, Tennessee, will be hosting a regional game this year. Congratulations to the Commodores. How about the Auburn Tigers over in Auburn, Alabama? They'll be hosting a regional game this year. Congratulations to them. Oxford, Mississippi, they'll be celebrating this weekend over there, whereas Ole Miss will be hosting a regional game. Congratulations to them. Clemson, South Carolina, the Clemson Tigers. Congratulations to them, as there'll be a host site for a regional tournament game. Tallahassee, Florida. Shout out to Florida State and the Seminoles. They'll be hosting a regional site as well. Corvallis, Oregon. Oregon State. Shout out to the Beavers. They'll be hosting a regional site. How about this one? Conway, South Carolina, home of the Coastal Carolina. Look, Coastal Carolina will be hosting a 2025 regional host site. Congratulations to them. Eugene, Oregon. The Oregon Ducks will be hosting one as well. And Hattiesburg, Mississippi to round out those 16 sites. Shout out to the Eagles of Southern Miss. They'll be hosting a 2025 NCAA regional host site as well, man. Looking at this, and you just talked about it a little earlier, 8 teams out of the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, Arkansas, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas, and Vanderbilt will be hosting sites. Then you go over to the ACC, 3 teams, Clemson, Florida State, and North Carolina. Out of the Big Ten, Oregon and UCLA, the 2. How about the Sun Belt being a conference of hosting with Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, and then, of course, Oregon State is an independent. They're one, man. You look at this, man, interesting home sites for some of these teams that are going to be hosting these regionals.
Very. And we talked about some of I would say the dark horses, right? The Southern Misses, the Coastal Carolinas. I mean, and let's just put it out here. I mean, Oregon State's an independent right now, right? After the Pac-12's, implosion or whatever you want to call it. But 8 SEC, 8 SEC teams, man. I just want to put that in perspective. Like, that over half the regional sites are going to be in the SEC, which means, Perry, we're going to get a lot of SEC versus SEC matchups down the stretch
Yep.
here as we get further into conference play if everything stays chalk. But I'll say this: I'm very interested today. I'm going to be tuned in to just the rest of the seeding, right? Because there's some really, really good, I would say, SEC teams that weren't hosts, but depending on the region they get put in, man, could really, really make some waves. And I'm very curious to see where they get put, especially with all the different SEC hosts. Are we going to get an SEC versus SEC matchup in the regionals?
And I'm sure at some point we're going to get that as we look at the amount of teams from the SEC that's going to probably get into this thing overall. The selection show in terms of who's going where is today at 11 o'clock Central, 11 a.m. Central on ESPN2, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 11 o'clock Central. So we're going to get ready to get off of here in a minute. So you guys, just like us, can tune in and see who's going where. I'll be with my attention right here trying to see who's going to be right here in this Baton Rouge regional as I listen. No doubt about it. I'm going to be there front row and center watching some great baseball, but somebody's going to look up with a regional with some, as we call it, I can't call it really cupcake, but some lesser teams, and somebody's going to get a team blue. Somebody's regional is going to get a team stacked and loaded saying, damn, how did we end up with the cards dealt this way to us?
Yeah, just to kind of give you some perspective, man. Right now, the final projections from D1 baseball were out. Um, Kentucky was the first team left out, just in terms of
Wow.
SEC teams not hosting. Mississippi State's the 3 seed in the Southern Miss Regional. It's going to be very interesting to see how Mississippi State can shake things up there. Then you had Florida as the 2 seed in the Florida State Regional. Talk about, could you imagine Florida State, Florida in Tallahassee for a chance to go to the Super Regionals? Would be absolutely insane. Alabama's the projected 2 seed in the Clemson Regional.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that works out for them. You have Oklahoma as the 2 seed in the Corvallis Regional as well with Oregon State. And then a team to watch potentially. So I believe they were left out of here, if I'm not mistaken, was Texas A&M. Is one of the is the next 4 out. I would say. So be very interested to see if Texas A&M or Kentucky can find their way in here.
Blue, as we get ready to wrap this thing up, and then the next time you guys will see us, we'll be talking about who's winning these regionals and who will be headed on to Super Regional. But as we wrap things up, especially with SEC, congratulations to the Texas Longhorns by winning the regular season championship, and bigger congratulations to the Vanderbilt Commodores for winning the SEC Conference Tournament. But we wrap things up, man. The SEC very entertaining this year. 8 teams hosting regional host sites. And now we're moving forward. Let's see how strong can the
Oh
SEC be
wow.
now in postseason after they've beaten up on each other for the past few weeks.
Okay, Perry. So big announcement here, I guess, as we close. I didn't mean to interrupt you. The top four seeds were just announced for the tournament. Do you, any guess here? We don't know the order of the top four, but we know we know who they are. Do you, any guesses on the top four
I
seeds?
don't want to sound crazy. Talk to me. Tell me.
Texas,
Uh-huh.
Vanderbilt, Arkansas,
Oh, wow. LSU.
Auburn.
Auburn.
Auburn, top four seeds.
Wow.
Hey, I told you Auburn was going to be interesting just because of all the advanced analytics.
Wow.
Because Auburn had the hardest strength of schedule, had all those. Hey, listen, those Georgia Tech midweeks that Auburn kept scheduling had to have helped them, right?
Had to.
Because it's funny enough, right, Perry? Those teams are are four of the top five teams in the RPI. The only team in the top five of the RPI that didn't get that wasn't included is Georgia.
Wow.
How about that,
I didn't see that one
man?
coming. I can say that. I didn't see that.
At
Texas, Auburn, Arkansas. And who am I missing?
Texas, Auburn, Arkansas, Vandy.
Vanderbilt. I cannot wait to watch this selection show to start to see where these teams are headed to and what these host sites are going to be. That is our top 4 teams right there as we head into postseason of the regional host sites, man. That is big, Blue.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how that works out, man. And that I mean, if you're Auburn, man, you feel really good, right? Because you kind of backed your way into not really backed your way. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say they didn't deserve it or anything, but like out of those four, you're the most surprising. How big is that with the draw you get potentially in your regional
Yeah.
right now? And then also too, if you're LSU or one of these other teams, maybe even like a North Carolina, right, or someone like that, man, you have to feel sick right now that you got left out of the top four.
Yeah. This is going to be big, man. As we get ready to wrap up today's show, we're going to be watching the selection show that comes on here in just a moment, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and then 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, as we're going to start to see where all the teams begin to fall out of these 16 host sites, man. So, Blue, man, let everybody know where they can find you, man, and keep up with you.
Yeah, at Zach McKinnell on all social media, FCS Football Central on si.com/college/FCS, and the Blue Bloods on all podcast streaming platforms and YouTube, man. And here on Mondays, my guy Perry White, man, talking SEC baseball. Now we're finally here at the best part of the season, Perry, and I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be beyond SEC baseball at this time. Hopefully, we'll continue to have SEC teams move forward, but now we open ourselves up to the national spotlight to a lot of these teams. And on the next time that you guys see us, as we start to wrap up these regional sites, we'll be talking about some teams that introduce you to some teams that you may not have even known about throughout the entire season. So you guys make sure you tune in as well for the next time that we jump on. It'll be probably next Monday as we wrap up and see how all of these regional games go. And of course, I'm Perry White. You can find me right here with On the Yard Network. Be sure to follow On the Yard Network across all social media, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, as well as go subscribe to the On the Yard Network YouTube channel. We'd love to have you guys follow with us. It costs nothing. It's free. And then I'm also the host of the Jaguar Journal on 107.3 FM in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. If you want to keep up with me there, covering FCS sports, Black College, SWAC, MEAC, all that good stuff. You can follow the Jaguar Journal on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, as well as subscribe to the Jaguar Journal YouTube channel
Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify. So for myself, Perry White, my man, Zach McKinnell, we appreciate you guys week in and week out. Here we are, everybody, getting ready for the big show to unveil where everybody's going, how these regionals are going to look. I'll be right here in Baton Rouge checking out the Baton Rouge Regional hosted over at LSU, and I hope everybody out there has enjoyed the regular season, the tournament, conference tournament. Now, as we head into postseason, let's see how things turn up and turn out. So thank you guys for the support. We'll be back next week, man. Hope you guys have a great week and a great and safe Memorial Day weekend, all right? Stay tuned. We'll be back next week.